Hello, I am Denise Burns from the Northwest Georgia Republican Assembly. First off, we do want to thank you for agreeing to participate in our candidate interview. We feel discussions like these serve to create a more informed voting electorate so that we can make the best decisions possible to elect the candidates that best represent our values. Also, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are respecting and obeying all CDC guidelines and practicing social distancing. Before we begin, you should know that each candidate for each office has received the exact same number of questions. We ask that you please keep answers to a reasonable time frame, using 2 to 3 minutes for each question. Give the answers that you want to give. There is no right or wrong answer, just your answer. Let's begin. Would you please introduce yourself and state the office and district, if applicable, that you're running for?
Greg Gordy is running for the chairman of the Catoosa County Board of Commissioners.
Let's begin. The cities of Ringgold and Fort O have been advised by the Georgia Municipal Association, which is a non-governmental agency, to severely restrict local business operations. Who is the county commission taking advice from concerning COVID-19? Is it a department of the Georgia state government or a voluntary association that Catoosa is part of?
I would certainly hope it's state government, but not being a county employee or in that job right now, I don't know who they're taking direction from, but I would certainly hope it's the informed state government, who, by the way, is probably acting on guidance from the CDC.
Do you agree with the approach that Governor Kemp has taken?
I believe so. I've got a brother who's a PhD immunologist at Johns Hopkins, and I call him to get the medical scoop because I don't want to sift through what's being said on TV and what's not being said on TV. And yeah, I was a fan of Kemp's approach to let it at the county level, because not every county is the same. We're, some very rural counties aren't as densely populated as Fulton, for example, and those factors play into what you should probably do. But sooner or later, if it gets bad enough, this was inevitable, and so we're waiting, I guess, later today to hear about his statewide shelter in place and what that really means. So I guess he's doing the right thing. He's probably under a lot of pressure. I would have held out as long as I could, and maybe he's at the point where he can't hold out anymore. But we'll see. The devil is going to be in the details when he issues this thing, and nobody knows what it's going to be yet.
What is the proper role of county government?
County. I believe county government is kind of straightforward in the sense that I believe your primary job is to keep the county infrastructure and public services running at the lowest possible cost you can keep them running at. And it's schools, police department, roads, whatever infrastructure the county's involved in. I mean, people need these things, and the county is the office that takes care of them all. And of course, they all cost money, but you just got to do it smart. And you got to do it as best you can for as little as you can. And so it's prudently spending county funds.
What are your top 2 priorities as county commissioner?
Personally, I would first remove that the policy was put in place at county meetings that attempted to severely restrict citizens' ability to speak, as they always have been. I understand because I was there, the pretty large meeting, a lot of people are there, none of them in favor of the move. And the language got softened a little bit, but the intent was still there, and I don't think that system was broken, and therefore I don't think there should have been any effort to try to fix it. I got personal theories about why that happened, but regardless of why it happened and what the motive was, it's not good for citizens. And it's so borderline anti-democratic, I can't even wrap my head around it. But yeah, I mean, I spent 20 years in the military defending freedoms like that, to sit and watch one of them try to be taken away, and it rubbed me the wrong way. Oh, and second one, it's got a lot of traction here lately, but there's been a lot of effort and a lot of movement to include neighboring counties all across Georgia, and the ones that touch us as well, to declare the county a Second Amendment sanctuary county. And I think it's a no-brainer, good idea. I'm surprised we even think we need to do that, but especially with this COVID thing, people are even more concerned about infringement of rights and infringement of liberties, and that there's a group of people that will hesitate or not hesitate in the slightest to strike against the Second Amendment when there's an opportunity, and this kind of looks like one of those. So I think it should have been done a long time ago. the resolution is largely symbolic, and I get that, but it would have cost nothing to do, and it's a stepping stone to eventually moving on to what the movement wants, which is an ordinance. I know that's more complicated. It's probably going to take state involvement, but if that's what the citizens of Catoosa County want, I'm for it.
Could you educate the citizens that watch this interview on how you plan to cut spending, lower taxes, and shrink the role of county government in proportion to the drastic fall in economic revenue?
On top of that, with the unemployment numbers as up as they are from the COVID issue we're dealing with, if those become long-term and not just short-term, that's going to severely impact revenue. I've got to get in there and see the books, but there's always things that can be reduced, cut, made more efficient across the board. Just got to find them. I don't know how hard anybody's really looked in the past. Here lately, it appears like no one's been looking real hard to find those kind of things, since we seem to have an abundance of money. We spend it a little more freely than I like. But just got to find ways to cut. Find places where there's redundancy. Find things that we're spending money on that we probably shouldn't. I've got a few ideas of what those are, but again, it's kind of an inside-outside kind of thing. If you're not inside, it's really hard to get the real deal on some of this stuff. I've tried, and it's been cumbersome at some points. But yeah, the county's operated just fine for a long period of time with the revenue it has, and I don't know why we need special revenues to cover things that are typically handled through the general fund.
Will you pledge here on video that you will never raise Catoosa County citizens' taxes via millage rate increase, use of local option sales taxes, or increased spending?
I can't see any reason why you'd have to do any of that. We'll see. I mean, times change, things happen, but yeah, I've got no problem doing that. I believe we have enough money now to do the job that we're supposed to do. If we're a lot smarter at spending it and a little less frivolous about it, we'll probably be able to get along just fine without any numbers going up for anybody.
What would be a proactive way of managing the budget anticipating a severe economic downturn?
Well, I don't know. It depends on how severe it is and how much it's affected locally. I'd like to know how we dealt with it in 2008 and 9. And of course, I was in the military and not here when that happened. But yeah, well, I mean, if the revenues go really down because the economy is in the tank and it's there for a long time, then everybody has to tighten their belt and figure it out. I'm not neck deep in county government expenses, and I don't meet with the department heads like I will if I'm elected to be able to speak really intelligently on how we do that. But we're going to have to. We're going to have to figure it out. And I would imagine, since that kind of happened in 08 and 09 with the big real estate crash that brought everybody down, we probably got a little experience at it. Just nobody who's in office now probably does, but somebody does. And I saw it at the federal level, which is a lot different than local level. But the short answer is I don't know, because I'm not there and I don't have my hands. I can't open up the magic book and see everything yet.
Can you pledge here on camera that you will find ways to cut each department by a modest 5% or an even bolder 10%?
I would think 5% across the board is very reasonable. 10, I don't know. I've had to go through budget drills, from big programs at the Pentagon where they would, higher priority comes up, nobody sees the issue of tax, and every program's got to pay 5%. And so you just figure out how to do it, what you can push to the right, what you can defer, what you can live without. So I've done those kind of drills before, but 5%, there's probably 5% of fat in just about everything. You just got to look hard and find it.
How often would you meet with department heads to see if current projects are successful, are revenue neutral, or to find out if they are costing citizens more than initially projected?
Well, I've got the benefit of not having a 9-to-5 job. I'm predominantly retired, so I can meet with them as often as they need to. I would think at least weekly until things get on track, and more often than that if need be. I mean, there's a fine line between getting in the way of the people doing the work too much to where you actually hinder them doing their job, but I can meet as often as it takes. But I would think weekly during the trouble periods and monthly after that would be reasonable, but I'm flexible, whatever it takes.
Can you pledge here on camera that you will never vote to propose another Tease referendum? No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe. I couldn't imagine. That whole event last year was the most ill-conceived thing I've seen. I mean, if you think you need a Tease, at least be smart enough to say the things you're going to use it for up front, which never happened, which means that thing was doomed. I mean, it's hard enough to get people to come off, voluntarily approve a tax. If you're going to even attempt that, you need a good story. They didn't have one. It was a disaster. And I don't understand why you need an influx of cash, pretty sizable cash, just to do one of the primary jobs the county's been doing since the dawn of time, and that's maintain roads. If we are not able to do that job, which we've done forever, without constantly requiring new taxes in order to get it done, then somewhere in government is failing.
As commissioner, will you vote to return public meetings to previous policy that allowed spontaneous appearances from concerned citizens?
Yeah, I went over that. The answer is absolutely yes. That was a travesty of freedom, in my opinion. So we've been over that, but absolutely. In fact, I can think of nothing I probably want to do sooner than that.
To what degree do you feel that Catoosa County is a ward of the state, that it could not exist without the aid of taxpayers in other counties? Or maybe another way of putting the question, with current situation in mind, if Catoosa County was required to support itself without the help of taxpayers in other counties and states, could it do it?
At the current level, no, I don't think so. And the reason is, we have the benefit of being a border state to a reasonably large city out of state in Chattanooga, and have an interstate running through it that gets a whole lot of traffic, and those produce a lot of revenue. I guess probably from a sales tax perspective, the two largest revenue generators has got to be the Walmart in Fort Owen, and definitely the Costco right there, on the other side of the line. And that Costco gets a lot of money from a lot of people that aren't in Catoosa County. You drive through the parking lot, there's a lot of Hamiltons, there's Whitfields, Dades, Walkers, So we get a lot of tax revenue from a lot of other people. And granted, other people's money is kind of the best kind of money there is. You take some rural county in south central Georgia that's isolated from everybody, all they got is their own money. We had the benefit of getting it from a lot of other people, and we've been enjoying that for a long time. So if that was suddenly cut off, I don't even want to think about what dollar figure that is, but it'd be significant. So we probably couldn't do it and keep our current standard of living, so to speak. But, and yeah, that'd be hard to do. But that's a good problem to have, because we get a lot of money from other people. And like I said, other people's money is good money. But yeah, doing without it would probably be a pinch.
Are economic development investments, such as working with the Chamber of Commerce, maintaining dues with Senator Mullis's regional authority, or the creation of a new economic development department, paying off for the citizens who fund them? Could you share some examples of businesses that have emerged due to any of these economic development partnerships that you feel would provide jobs that pay a living wage, per capita household wages, or above?
Yeah, this is one of those subjects that not many people understand, and I'll be the first to admit I don't understand it 100% yet. I've done a little bit of digging into it, and I'd say the short answer is probably no, that we don't get the money out of it that we put into it yet. I don't know precisely what Senator Mullis's JDA even does. I know what it costs, but I don't know what we get back out of it. But I'll tell you that I mentioned Costco a second ago. Now, I don't know exactly, because I wasn't here when that was kind of funded and paid for, but that thing's a cash cow. I'm sure it has in revenue, in tax revenue, paid for whatever we, the county or the city, for whoever did it, multiple times over, and it'll be the gift that keeps on giving. Stuff like that, obvious good ideas. The rest of them, I don't know. I mean, right now the big hot topic is that all that land down on that southern Highway 41 exit off 75 that we spend a lot of money on, and then spend another 1 point whatever to move a gas line. I don't know what the plan for that is. I don't know what company we're trying to court, but that looks like a lot of money. And I mean, somebody convinced somebody of it at some point, but I don't know. And besides, even if that was a good idea at the time, now with the economy taking a crash through this COVID thing, who knows if the company that was looking for that and it all made sense once still makes sense. I mean, companies expanding right now, they're probably all rethinking those plans now, every single one. And we still own the land. We can't sell that back. So if that deal falls through for any number of reasons, some of which could have nothing to do with anybody's fault, and we're stuck holding that bag, and that's an expensive bag to hold. So we need to be a lot smarter on how we do that. I mean, I'm not anti-growth on principle, but this one doesn't look like a good idea, and you got to be very careful and very sure and how you do it. And I don't think anybody who's not on the inside right now has got enough information to speak very, very smartly on that. It's pretty tight information. It's hard to get.
A lot of citizens want to know how we arrived at a place where roads were so underfunded for so long that we had to opt for another sales tax. Do we have enough money through lost, splost, and general revenue to fund road construction for the next 5 years?
I would certainly hope so. Again, I don't have the county budget in front of me, and I don't know what was spent on it last year and how much we can spend on it in the next few years and where the other money can come from. But for a very long time, the county's been maintaining roads, and I don't think they've needed a splost of any kind to do it every single 4 years. I mean, like I said, I spent 20 years not here, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to what was going on back home because I was in Germany or Afghanistan or whatever. But if this has become a perpetual habit and an expected thing that every 4-ish years you need a new splost tax just to do one of your basic jobs, and we need to look at how we do our basic jobs.
What percentage of the county budget is used on the betterment of the county roads? Are roads a priority, and if so, why or why not?
Well, they certainly ought to be a priority. I can't tell you what percentage is being used right now, but sure they ought to be a priority. I mean, that's the one thing in the county affects everybody. If there's a pothole on your street and you blow a tire, damage a wheel, which I've done, then yeah, you want that fixed. It's one of the basic government, like I said, law enforcement, schools, roads, and whatever's 4th or 5th place after that's probably pretty distant in most people's minds. So yeah, sure, everybody cares about roads. You ought to be able to fix it. And if you can't do it with your general fund and the revenue you have coming in now, then you may ought to reevaluate how you spend that.
Last question, and you did address it earlier, but because I'm keeping to a form
Sure.
that everyone's followed, I'll ask it again. Will you pledge to propose an ordinance that makes Catoosa County a sanctuary for the Second Amendment and serves to safeguard our citizens from unconstitutional gun ownership restrictions?
Sure. I think that's a no-brainer. I mean, I would have never believed that cities around the country could have declared themselves sanctuary cities against federal law. Primarily, we're talking about immigration here, and been successful at it. So I would have never thought this would have had to have even been brought up. But in light of those kind of things, clearly, it might ought to be brought up. And that amendment, that resolution, total no-brainer. I don't know why it wasn't done a long time ago, as other counties, by the way, did do, to include some of them that neighbor us. So absolutely, if that isn't done, if that isn't a signed, sealed deal by the time, if I'm elected, by the time I get in, it will be. And then the same movement that wants that, who wants an actual ordinance passed, we'll work on that. I'd like to work with all the other neighboring counties in this North Georgia area and try to hit it as one block, because you're gonna have to lobby the state. So the bigger your lobby, the better off you're going to be. So there's no reason trying to go at it as on your own. You'll have help. So round up the troops and get some help, and then see what you can get done at the state.
That's the end of the questions on the questionnaire, and at this point, I'll give you 3 minutes, and you can wrap up and tell the viewer what you want them to hear.
If you didn't catch it from what I said earlier in bits and pieces, I'm a 20-year veteran of the Air Force, retired lieutenant colonel. I was raised here, went all through grade school here, graduated high school here. There's a lot of things that I've done throughout the military that are high-level program management, big-time budget stuff, even congressional affairs directorship on Capitol Hill that are well-suited to this kind of thing. I believe there are some poor judgments made over the last few years that I've been paying attention to. I've pretty much hit them all here. And you need to get out, this county needs to get out of the cycle of living with what I consider to be some pretty bad decisions, particularly when it comes to the spending of your money. I am a fiscal conservative, and I've had to tighten the belt on federal programs all the time, so I know how to do it. I don't mean to sound too, make it sound insignificant, but I really believe this county's budget is, on the grand scale of things, isn't particularly large. It's complicated, a lot of moving parts, but you just got to spend it smartly. Sit down in the room with all the right people and sort it out. It sounds easy, so I don't know why it appears to have not been done that well recently, but it will if I get elected.
Thanks, Greg. We appreciate you being here.
Sure.